How's it going, guys? Hope you had a good day. Hope you had a good week. I'm Sam Hip, and I'm about to teach you 3 really underrated, I think, tips on building kind of tension-filled and exciting build-ups. Before we get into that, I want to ask, do you notice anything different from my last video? I got a new camera, and it was a lot of money, so I want to make sure it was worth it. So let me know in the comments if you notice a big difference between this video and the last one. Anyways, let's get into Ableton and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so here we are in Ableton. This is my DAW of choice. Let me put my headphones on. And you'll see we already have a project open. This is an unreleased track. It's coming out later this year. I think December 11th is the official date on Munchies After Dark, which is part of Late Night Munchies. It's a record label here in Seattle. And yeah, so the first point is to create contrast. And you've probably heard that 100 times already. You're like, why is this a new point? And that's because the ways you can create contrast, some of them are pretty overlooked, I think. And this is one way it's overlooked. And that is to not only think of the sounds you're using. So you might have heard, for example, the tip that you should pull out the bass and make everything kind of mono, to make it kind of stereo and sound like it's almost exploding in a wall of sound when the drop hits. And that is solid. That's a really good way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. So this is an example of one that doesn't do that kind of, I don't want to say typical, but yeah, a pretty common way. So I'm going to play it from the middle of the buildup here, and you can kind of hear it, how it goes into the drop. So yeah, there you go. It's kind of it's a little bit more of a classic, like progressive house, or in this case, techno kind of way of doing a build up, where you build up the high elements and you kind of, build up that tension with some risers and things, but you create some space between that and the drop. We call it a breakdown. Then you come in with only the bass. In this case, only the kick, but it's a rumble kick, so that's the bass. And then you kind of build the drop up while you're in the drop, if that makes sense. And then the next, so from 121 here, finally, kind of the full force of the drop hits. And so yeah, that's kind of a unique way to create contrast by building up the highs here and then only coming in with the kick, literally the opposite thing. So yeah, that's one way. And I'll kind of show that in my next project here. So in 3, 2, 1, boop. And we're in a new project. So this is my most recent label release. So this is Sonorous on Aronk Records with the homie Lit Mercy is his name. And yeah, again, this is a kind of bass electro house, so completely different genre from the techno track, but it's another way to demonstrate kind of a little different way to do a build up and drop. So here, I'll play it from the middle of the build up to the first drop here, and you can see how this sounds. Bass so heavy, make your motherfucking neck drop. So yeah, there you go. This one, again, like I said before, the common one is to kind of pull out all the bass and make it mono. But what you can also do is you can use like kicks and things and still have the bass in there. But you want to create space between that and the drop. So it's a breakdown, just like kind of like the previous one, but we're hitting with the full force of the drop at the beginning there. So, and actually that leads into the second tip here, which is to use syncopation. So if you watch my first tutorial where I explain what syncopation is, but basically it is how on the beat something is. So if something is hitting on every beat, that's not syncopated. But If something is like off the beat and kind of like groovy, then that's syncopated. So you got to think to yourself, okay, is the drop syncopated or not syncopated? In this case, the bass line is very syncopated. I think none of these hits are even on the beat. So to make the build-up contrast and to make it kind of feel that much more groovy when it hits the drop is we want everything to be on the beat going up in the build-up. So if we look back through here, I've got the kicks on just about every beat. I've got another kick build-up. And then if we look at the percussion here, we've got a clap on every other beat. If we look at the other percussion, we've got an effects here. And if I zoom in, you can see it's on every, I guess it's 2 per beat, but yeah, it's on the beat there. We've got closed hats on every beat. You can see we're doing everything on the beat leading up to the drop. And then when the drop hits, all of a sudden it's syncopated and not on the beat. So I'll play it one more time and you can listen for that. And so, yeah, I'll play it from here. Bass so heavy, make your motherfucking neck drop. And then not on the beat. So yeah, that's another way to kind of create contrast, is to use the rhythm. This is kind of rhythm theory, but use the rhythm to contrast and use syncopation to your advantage. So that's tip number 2. Now for tip number 3, we're going to jump into another project in 3, 2, 1. And we're in another project. So this one is a techno track just like the first one, and it's actually on the same EP. It's coming out on December 11th on Munchies After Dark. But this one is a little bit of a different vibe that you'll hear. So let me play it. This is kind of the end of the build up here into the drop, and then I'll explain how it's different and what the tip is. So here we go. So yeah, this one's kind of melodic like the first one, but the third tip is to use music theory and kind of melodies to build even more tension before the drop and create contrast. So by that I mean, in this one, let's see, what's the key here? It's in F sharp minor. So this first kind of like arpeggio, I guess. Yeah, I have an arp here. Arpeggio is just playing an F minor, and then kind of going up here, you can see it's a not too complicated melody, but it's something. So we're in F sharp minor. So then we have this kind of, I'll solo it here so you can hear it. That, right before the drop. And the music that we're using is we're playing a lot of the 5th and 6th and kind of going back to the root at the drop. So if we look at the MIDI here, this right here is the very end. And actually we're on the F sharp to like hold it up here. And then the key point is the breakdown section. So the last measure before the drop, we kind of descend down and we end on, what is this? The 3rd, I think. Yeah. So you end on the 3rd, and you, in this case, I'm kind of walking it down, but as long as you end on either the 3rd, you can do the 4th. It's not as tension filled, but yeah, usually the 3rd or the 5th or the 6th. So in F sharp minor, it would be, so the 3rd is A here, but we could also move this up to, let's see, so that would be C sharp there to make it the 5th. So if we play just this section here with this soloed, so I just changed it to the 5th. Here we go. And then bump, 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 bump. So you can hear it would work. And then if you want to make it even kind of darker and kind of cooler sounding, you could move it up to this flat 6th, which is the D there. So from F sharp to C sharp, that's the 5th, and then 1/2 step up is the 6th there. So now if we listen to this section, it would sound like this. bump, 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 bump. So you can, if you can kind of like hear it in your head, I guess, that would work too. So yeah, the key point is to use the third, the fifth, and the sixth to your advantage to build more tension before returning to the root in the drop. So kind of like a music theory hack there. Yeah, there you go. There's 3 quick tips on building quick buildups. All right. All right, so that's going to do it for the 3 tips you can use to make your buildups that much more tension-filled and that much more exciting for the big drop you've got planned. So if you liked the video, or if you learned something, or you just enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell notification, because I upload one of these just about every week. So yeah, be sure to not miss the next one. And on top of that, be sure to follow me on Twitch, because I do production just like this every Wednesday at 7. Yes, I remembered it. Wednesday at 7. And also follow me on social media. My links should be popping up on screen somewhere. I think here. I think on this side, or maybe this side. I don't know. You can make fun of me if I got it wrong. So yeah, if you like memes, if you like just simple production tips and tricks and stuff like that, be sure to follow me. All right, with that said, stay safe, stay happy, and I'll see you in the next one.